Welcome back. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying informed. And well, I want to say thank you for coming back to watch my videos. If you do, I really, truly appreciate it. I'm still just working hard to make my dreams come true. And well, every so often, I'm still having fun here and there, you know? But let's get started. So I love Nollywood films. I grew up watching Nollywood films, and one day, mark my words, I am going to star in Nollywood films. It's part of the whole, I have a lot of like checkpoints I need to get through. Like I could go into it. I could really get into it. But just know that one of my biggest goals in my acting career is to eventually star in a couple of Nollywood films. One that I write myself, for myself, obviously. And then a couple more that, you know, would be fun. But anyway, but yeah, the thing is, I would not grow to appreciate Nollywood films until I was in college. You see, I grew up watching a few Nollywood films with my parents here and there. And I remember just thinking, and also my grandmother, of course, and I remember just thinking like, these are some interesting movies. But I would not grow to really appreciate them until I got to college because, well, if it weren't for the women I met when I was in college, I don't think I would have appreciated it as much. Again, there are so many factors in place that I could have been closer, but that's a whole other story. You can watch a previous video. But I just remember like watching The Wedding Party with a friend from back then. I was just like, what an amazing movie. It's so good. I like the second movie more than the first, but that's for a completely different reason. So we'll come back to that later. But yeah, I remember just these moments where like when we were watching movies together, I didn't have to be anything but myself. And if only I had let that lesson stick, it would take me a long time to learn that lesson. But there's a distinct moment I remember where we're watching a movie and like the movie was amazing. The plot twist in the movie, like I was like, oh, you really subverted our expectations. I love that. So like the plot twist, you know what? Well, I don't even know the name. I don't remember the name of the movie. So unfortunately, I wouldn't even I don't want to spoil it, but I can't spoil a movie that I don't even remember. If you remember the plot of the movie, but anyway, I just remember like in the movie, there's this main character. She is like taking care of these children and it's assumed that she's in a relationship, but she's not, but she is. And then she gets into a relationship with another guy, but the plot twist was just crazy. I remember at one moment in the movie, like we're all watching it in my friend's room and an intimate scene comes on. And I remember like, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I just sensed like a sort of tension in the air for a brief moment. And I was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is an intimate scene. And before I can really these are all thoughts that are happening as quickly as possible. And before I know it, I'm saying I am saying aloud, when you're watching a movie with your African parents and the sex scene come on, and instantly the tension vanished. And I was almost like, do I just need to be my goofy, dorky self? And like, maybe I'll still, just let them get to know that side of me. And unfortunately, that is not a lesson I would learn until much, 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 much later. But hey, you live and you learn. But yeah, I enjoyed these moments. And well, I wasn't always able to watch movies with them all the time because eventually, you know, I would be insufferable. I would eventually watch movies on my own during my self-discovery and self-identity phase of my life. When I was really starting to understand who I am and the different intersectionalities that make up me. And I would watch a lot of Nollywood films. I remember there was a time period, I think during COVID, when Nollywood films were just all over Netflix, and I watched as many as I could. I would take notes because I was like, oh, I need to take notes in my own Nollywood film. But I was like, what I would love to do is analyze a bunch of Nollywood films. So here we are. So there are so many. I have so many ideas in my head, but I'm gonna start off slow, you know? Baby steps. We building it brick by brick.
I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick.
So let's get started. The movie I wanted to analyze a bit today was Moms at War. This is one of this was one of the first movies I had kind of watched, and I remember I loved this movie. I don't like the ending, but I love this movie. And let me explain why. So to give you a brief synopsis, it's about these two women who are mothers, and like, you know, they're businesswomen, but just from very different, what's the word? Aspect of business, where one owns like a shopping complex. I believe the other is like a lawyer or something. The details were not very clear in the movie. I'm gonna assume she was a lawyer, or at least just like more corporate versus the other woman. And they live in the same neighborhood, but they hate each other, which is hilarious. Their children go to the same school, and their children also kind of compete. One boy, one girl. But like, because, you know, the opposite sex, these children kind of like each other despite the fact that they're competing with each other. And like, man, I feel like I'm not doing a good job with this. Okay. So like, what happens is like, eventually the rivalry between these two women who live in the same neighborhood eventually gets to a point where everyone in the neighborhood is like, hey, you are a hazard. I'm gonna need y'all to stop fighting. So they're forced to do these like team bonding exercises, which is so hilarious. It's so cute. Okay, so after the team bonding exercises, these two women essentially develop an actual relationship, like an actual friendship. Like, they find out a few things about each other. I'm not gonna spoil everything. I'm not gonna spoil everything. They find out a few things about each other, and it allows them to actually grow closer and bond and connect. And well, the rest of the movie is essentially just trying to navigate motherhood, their friendship together, and a lot of, you know, typical Nollywood shenanigans, because you have to have the typical Nollywood shenanigans. And yeah, it's a good movie. It ends kind of interesting, but it's a good movie. I think one of the reasons I love this movie so much is because a lot of times, like, our African parents force us to compete with each other. Psychologically. Like, subconsciously and consciously, they're always comparing us to one another, to a point where, like, if someone is so very different from us, like, we just automatically hate them without really like thinking about it. We just like, I don't like you because I don't know you type energy. And what this movie does is like, it takes these two women who, yes, they're very different. Yes, like, who seem like they're very different, but in reality have a lot of things that make them similar. And it really just like introduces this idea that like, hey, maybe that person that you don't like you could potentially develop a good friendship with them, or at least develop a mutual respect for them. Because yeah, and I think this movie does that well. This idea that like we have to compete with each other, we can't like each other, is really starting to like really combat that idea that like, stop comparing yourself to other women, stop trying to think that other women are better than you or you're better than them. We're all just trying to live, honestly. I feel like, I hope I'm saying this right. It's beautiful to introduce the idea of like, we don't have to constantly fight each other or oppose each other or try to one-up each other. We can be friends, or at least have a mutual respect for one another. And we can develop friendships. Like, but anyway. Now, that is one of the main points that I love about this movie. I love the friendship that these two women develop. However, I don't like how this movie ends. The reason being, okay, how do I explain this? In the movie, so one of the plot points that kind of happens is that one of the wives, their husband, is cheating on her. And they find out, and they actually kind of bond over it, and that's essentially what develops them to becoming friends. And, you know, the thing is, they both agree that like, oh yes, we shouldn't allow these men to mistreat us anyhow and do whatever, you know? And it's all fun and game. No, it's fine until we get to the end of the movie, where the friendship they've developed, they like it's implied that they start to like meet each other every once in a while to like share dinner or have dinner together, which is great. We love the friendship. But the friend was like, I know that your husband makes you happy, or your ex-husband, or this man in your life makes you happy. So I decided to call him back and have him join us. And I remember thinking, this is not the best way to end this movie. Because it was a pattern of this man would cheat on her, they'd reconcile, this man would cheat on her again, they'd reconcile, this man would cheat on her again, they'd reconcile, this man would cheat on her again, they'd reconcile, and it's just kind of like, no. We should not encourage each other to go back to previous patterns that we know were toxic for ourselves. Whether it's something we are doing or someone else is doing to us. Look, I like the idea that like maybe he, like, cause there's this plot point in the movie where they like have this conversation like, oh, I was cheating on them, but I was essentially looking for you. I'm gonna vomit. Okay. No, but
This,
Be nice.
I'm finding it.
It take you that long to
It
find
does. It does.
no. No. That is not my specific favorite part. I think the ending could have been different. Like if it had been a couple of years later and it's implied that he had grown and he had changed and he had matured and like, then yes, maybe they could get back together. But it's implied that not too much time has passed. But I don't know. Who can say? But yeah, I really love this movie, Moms at War. So yeah, I want to try my hand at like analyzing. So maybe what I'll have to do is I need to get back into my script writing era and write out the synopsis and everything and really just like plan things out. But yeah, overall, Moms at War, you know. Oh, it's kind of weird when it's on this side. I'm gonna do it over here. I'm such a dork. But yeah, Moms at War. I give it a 9 out of 10. It is a very, very, very good movie. I just don't like the ending. And that's just my opinion. I'm sure people have plenty of opinions as to like, oh, it should have ended like that because men, da-da-da-da. I'm not fully interested. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope we catch you at the next one. So remember, stay hydrated, stay informed, stay safe, and most importantly, for my sake, stay tuned. Somebody out there loves you.